Welcome to a presentation by Beautiful Forever, Aesthetic Business Consulting, with CEO Cheryl Whitman.
Converting contacts to clients, well, as a consultant, assessing the aesthetic practices all over the country, Beautiful Forever team has seen firsthand, behind the scenes, what really is going on, from the front desk to behind the manager's office, listening to the physician, not really everybody communicating very well, and seeing that there is an urgent need to automate your systems. And I could probably say there's 85% of the practices that we visit have that same issue, and most of the offices these days have leaner staff, and that's understandable with the economy. Thank God we're in a place where the economy is growing slowly, and everybody, though, is expected to wear multiple hats. Unfortunately, when that happens, as you probably understand and you see in your own practice or medspa, things tend to start to fall in between the cracks, including your revenue and your potential patients. You might not be seeing it, you might be seeing it, but that's what we're going to work on today in the webinar, is giving you a better understanding and why you really do need to convert your contacts to clients and how it affects your bottom line. That's all lost revenue, and we need to start capturing that. Wouldn't you agree that you'd like to capture every lead and figure out who is being not called back within 3 hours and who's not being followed up? The secrets of best practices. It is what we always preach. To increase your revenue, there needs to be good customer service. There has to be great procedure results and outcomes, which is our goals, and your menu and your pricing have to be at the right point for your demographics. So if you're in a very small town in Minnesota versus being in Beverly Hills or New York, even those are really big markets but very different in their own right, you need to have your pricing right and your menu and your packaging and your programs. We've seen too many inconsistencies. You need to go back and look at your pricing, look at your competitors. A little competitive overview, updated, is probably good for you and your staff to have a meeting to discuss. So it's very important that you look very close at how many patients are calling and coming in, how many you're closing, how many you're retaining. So today we're going to teach you some easy solutions. Patient acquisition and retention. Make them a patient for life. That's what makes a patient now. And I happen to love that line. Proven systems to track and follow up lead sources is the basis for my med leads, capturing all the data that you need until somebody becomes a patient, which then turns your consult into procedures. So creating a good marketing plan, creating a budget is very critical. It's all about your return on investment. You're working hard to make your money. We want to make sure you're making a good return on investment. So think about this. Who's making your marketing decisions? Based on what? What is the data they're basing it on? Focus on where your revenue is being generated from. Looking closely at your marketing budget is very important. Take a magnifying glass. Sit down with your accountant and your office manager and look at your budget and look to see if you understand where the patients are coming from and where you're spending your money. You must stay ahead of your competition by building stronger relationships which will retain your patients. Cost of one lost lead, one potential, could be thousands of dollars at a minimum. So we need to carefully look at your leads that are coming in and how many are closing and who is being followed up. Surveys are a very good way, and we have proven that with our physicians, to survey and question your staff, so internally you know what's going on. And then you can also create a survey. So what we found by creating surveys really does make a difference. And they provide the detail is very important. You have very savvy consumers out there, and they know they have options when it comes to aesthetics and spending their money and not going through insurance. So be efficient and use the automated tools that are created for the industry. So they're industry specific. Don't use tools and modules that are not, and you're trying to pull them all together because it makes one big mess and it's very difficult for the staff to follow. So then they wind up not wanting to use your automated systems if they don't know how to use them right. So you want to differentiate your practice or your med spa and pay attention to your staff, pay attention to the level of customer service they're providing. So stay tuned for important details, and I hope you all have your notepads ready. So the secret of best practices, we want to be efficient and we want to integrate good technology, that customer service, the image, your brand, the consultation. The consultation process is very important that we look closely at that when we go in to assess a practice. We listen to the physician, we listen to the closer, and we then are able to see what is going on. Why aren't you closing the leads? We were in practices where things have just fallen through the cracks again, and things are not being followed up, and sales are not being closed. And it costs a lot of money for you to generate each person coming through that door. So you want great results. And the pricing should definitely be in line with your consumer. So the mission of your marketing campaign. So why do you market? You're marketing because you want to get patients in, and that's an opportunity to have contact and to do a consult and to close a procedure. So your marketing plans have to be very clear and very precise. We work on marketing plans, we work on marketing budgets, and it really will help to increase your revenue if you understand where you're spending your money and where your patients are coming from. The most expensive part of marketing is generating those leads. There's not one practice that calls us doesn't say, I want to grow my practice. It could be a practice that's booked out for 3 to 6 months. They still want to generate more leads. But you know what? Over 70% of the leads are wasted. And we're going to show you that in today's presentation. The mission of your marketing campaign, how and where do you market for new patients? Well, word-of-mouth marketing, we know, is the #1 way to get patients. And if a friend refers a friend or a friend to a family, have a program set up for that, because that is your best way of marketing. So your website should be up to date. We take very close looks day to day on our clients' SEO and their social media. We also can help you to create educational events or fun events or a combination. And the word-of-mouth marketing is definitely what your goal is. Now, your internal database, let's look at that. Data mining of current client base. Most practices neglect to look internally at the contacts and the leads that they even already have. Reaching into that current database will provide clues as to what's wrong with the current protocol. Why are the deals not closing? There's something that needs to be looked at very carefully, and we do that during an assessment. For example, reach out to patients who have had consults in the last 6 months, but have not booked with any promotion, have not booked with anything, and offer them some sort of special or added value in a certain time frame to secure special pricing or gifts with the procedures. Target the potential patients who have not booked due to finances. With that, you can talk to a company like Care Credit and find out about what mailers they have that could go out, and you can send those out. So the mission of your marketing campaigns, you want to see results. Your staff, it's very important, needs to be very well trained, but they also need to be rewarded. That is part of the problem. If there's nothing in it for them or what's in it for them, you're not going to see a high level of people being hungry to close. So you really have to give back some positive behavior, pats on the back, buy lunch for the team, have team meetings. Try to figure out ways that you could really get closer with your staff and make them feel like they're part of a team and a family. So it's very important that they get very well trained and that you stay on top of that. So the problem is 70% of leads are usually wasted due to poor management of the lead. So the staff is not really paying attention. They're letting things go. Timing is everything. Every hour that a lead is not called back, that's decreasing by a huge percentage that you're going to lose that patient. So calling the lead back within 20 minutes increases the conversion by more than 70%. That's a huge number when I hear 90% of the practices complaining. So the average staff response is 9 hours. And you can talk to your staff about that. They'll think 9 hours is no big deal because they were so busy that they didn't have time to call back that lead that could be a $20,000 lead. Did you know when it comes to tracking and follow-up, how many new leads did you have last month and how many scheduled? I'd like you to finish the webinar, go back to your team, and talk to them and ask them some of these questions. I'm always happy for emails, Cheryl@beautifulforever.com, and let me know what you have found out. How long did it take your staff to answer an inquiry? What about the old leads? When was the last time they tried to follow up on the old lost opportunities, which might not be lost opportunities? They just might have gotten busy in their own family life and caught up. Maybe they had the procedure done somewhere else, but it's worth a try to follow up and make a phone call, send a note, send an email. But that staff conversion rate is very important, and you need to know what those numbers are. And if you don't know, then we need to help you find out. So the leads are not converting into sales, and you're wondering why. Well, it could be that the point that they're calling into the office, the person is not answering the phone, they're being put on hold, and they're losing the lead. Or the lead is coming through the internet, and they're not being followed up. So the staff really needs to be evaluated, and they need to understand your position. You need to review with them your vision and your mission for your practice, and maybe have a monthly number, a target number, that if they reach that, they get a bonus. Because you need to turn your employees into an impressive sales force. It is very important that they understand that they are your sales force, and you need to be able to really work with them and teach them some phone skills. We work with them on staying in front of the prospects until they become patients, and that's how my med leads will help you in this case as well. So start at the beginning. Evaluate your patient tracking protocol and create best practices. So now we want to capture your lead data, and we want to implement a patient tracking system, because as we know it, most practices don't have it, and you might have it and might not even know it. But tracking referral sources is a key top priority. You want to know where people are coming from. So you want to know where you're going to spend your money in your marketing for the next 6 months. And the holidays are coming up, should be having an event, should be doing some special promotions, and the staff needs to be trained. You need to stay in front of your prospects. Why do we bother doing social media? Why do we bother doing marketing and newsletters? Because we want to stay in front of our prospects. We want to stay in front of patients, and we want to keep building rapport in that bond. So any of the leads that have not converted yet, we want to manage them. And you got to manage them properly. My Med Leads has an amazing converting leads to patient system and program. And this is just a sample of one of the reports that you would get of who's calling in, when they're calling, what is it they're looking for. And these are reminders. They will get reminders popping up on their screen that they need to call the new patient or the new lead and follow up with them. And you want to convert that patient to a procedure, to surgery, to injectables, fillers, whatever it is you're offering, and viewing the reports on a regular basis is very important. So somebody needs to be on top of that in your practice. So you're going to follow up on all the lists that you're going to get and all these reports, but somebody, again, has to take the lead, and they have to be able to take these invaluable tools that now will convert your leads to clients. But who's going to do it? That's staff training. So the front desk staff, and I always say this, is usually probably the most underpaid position. So you might want to offer them some sort of bonus. But these follow-up reports generate lists for you and for your staff. And they'll suggest times that are best to call people back, and they will track and record the calls so you can even listen to them. And having a practice meeting is probably very helpful to go over that. Here's a couple of really great quotes. So we've been able to increase conversions from less than 10% to over 30%. And it does not take a marketing genius to understand the effect on the bottom line. So here's a plastic surgeon telling us that it went from 10% to 30%. That's tens of thousands of dollars over and over again that he has now increased by paying attention, working with the staff, and implementing the right technology. We have used my Med Leads for months and simply love it. That's a great endorsement. And the leads are now easily accessible, and the follow-up calls are there, they're recorded, and everybody knows Dr. Grant Stevens, and he's saying that his practice has increased, which is wonderful. So the contact, the tracking, the follow-up, You want to offer that compensation to the staff. Again, I know physicians might not be used to this compensation. Nurses are not used to getting compensation, but when it comes to esthetician or front desk staff, they are used to it, and you will get much better results if you empower your staff. So you want to establish revenue targets, maybe some operational targets, and definitely create an incentive program. Start one now, November till Christmas time. And who wouldn't like a bonus at Christmas time or an additional bonus at Christmas time? So you want systems that are going to monitor the individual performance, and that's what we have to offer you here. So the patient experience. We all know the first impression when we walk into a place or a restaurant is what stays in our mind, or the first waiter or waitress that helps us at that restaurant. So that first impression is very important. Who do you have representing your practice? That initial phone call, that initial walk-in or meeting, that will close a deal or turn somebody away. So that greeter is very important, that they understand exactly what your practice is all about and how you want them to answer all questions. You want them to book a consult, and they have to understand the processes, and they also have to understand all your technologies. We go into a lot of practices where most of the staff doesn't even know all the new technologies the doctor just bought at all the trade shows because he's so busy playing with them and getting trained on them. So it's really important that the staff is up to date, as well as educating your patients on what's going on in your practice and your procedures. So the goal is for all of us is to close more leads and have very clear action items. And the following up. We want to follow up with those leads, whether they close or not. Somebody has to be responsible for following up. So during the consult, we're going to develop a protocol, and that protocol should be something that everybody follows. It can be moved around a little bit depending on who's doing it, whether it's a physician, a non-physician, but that protocol for your consult should be pretty consistent. And all the important information needs to be gathered. We've been in so many offices that are paying high rents, charging lots of money, and they forget to take the email address or confirm an old email address that was in the system to even see if the person is receiving your emails. It's very important to learn to listen during the consultation process of what it is the patient came in for and what is bothering that patient when they look in the mirror. Think about that, because I've watched too many consults being done by the top physicians, and they're not listening. They're just looking and wanting to change the person's face or body. You need to communicate that treatment plan. And if you're the one that's talking about how much things cost, great. If your patient coordinator is that person, there has to be a good communication internally as well as good communication for the patient to have a good experience. The consultation, before and after photos, is probably one of the top things that will sell a patient and close them immediately. So here's a before and after photo that helps patients see their changes, and it's a great marketing tool because the patient now offers a virtual photo gallery. So the patients can actually see similar procedures that they want to have, and this physician actually said that they're closing more consults on the spot using these photographs and using the system. So the retail sales, make patients aware what you're offering, what you're selling, what skincare and body care products. I'm a big believer in home care maintenance packages, and for a larger return on investment, I am a big fan of private labeling your product line and not selling brand names. But it's not a bad idea to have a brand name line and your own line. But remember, with your own line, by having shelf talkers and having information, they have to come back to you for the product. They're not going online and buying it at a discount. So that cross-selling is very important with products and procedures. I often say if you're doing a laser program, whether it's a Botox program, any type of service package, put together some of your own products into that package so people start to use your products. And they will come back on a monthly basis to purchase the products or buy them from your website, not somewhere else. Key here is retention. Also, with your own branded physician product line, it's also bottom line because it could be up to a 500% or more markup. So financing beauty. We want to make all of your patients feel that everything is affordable. We don't want them to feel like you're so high in price that they can't afford you. So we want to offer patient financing to anybody and everybody. Care Credit is one. You have other options out there as well. And sometimes somebody needs to use a multitude of credit cards. Care Credit has options where there's payments, whether it's 6 months or 2 years. You need to call them and have somebody come back into your practice and do an education lunch for your staff to see how easy it is with these techniques that they have. And they help you to simplify the process. You should not say to somebody, here's Care Credit, go home and fill it out. That's not your job. Your job is to close them there and to help them get onto the Care Credit site, and they can fill out the information while you're sitting there, and you might even be able to assist and help them with that. Closing the sale. There's all kinds of signals that you always need to look for. That eye contact is important, but everybody makes decisions in different ways. So think about yourself when you're shopping for an expensive item or to make a big decision. So people are going to ask questions. They're going to start looking at their watch. They're going to start looking around the room. So once you lose them, you're not going to be able to keep them. So you really have to think very carefully about how you're going to close them and keep them entertained. And to me, those before and after pictures really keep somebody in line and focused. So they might ask about other patients' experiences. And so you really have to have a good photo book in front of you of the ones that you have done, show them the before and afters, have some testimonials in a book, and even have some other patients that they can call to talk to. But once they take out their date book or they take out their wallet and they're really engaged with you, you know they're really interested. And you know then you're getting closer to closing your sale. So you have to hear and you have to see your patients firsthand. So what we do is we come in and we do mystery shopping on-site, or we do mystery shopping over the phone. And we have a program where we're able to hear your receptionist front desk. We're able to see the feedback we get through the Internet. And we're able to assess what's going on and why you might not be closing leads or why leads might be falling through the cracks. So we can help you to improve your patient relations. So now you want to get your technology integrated. And you need good practice management. So you want to increase your productivity and revenue. I think that's the goal for everybody in every business, no matter what business we're in. We want to automate things and make things very easy. We want emails to be automated to just go out, and somebody in the office does not have to think about it. We put it into a funneling system. It's already done. A button is pushed. We don't have to worry if they don't come in tomorrow to work because we know this automated system is still working. Referral tracking is great to know where people are coming from. That, again, goes back to your marketing dollars and how you could spend less money, actually, if you're tracking better. So the staff reporting, well, sometimes you don't even know because somebody else went onto the computer of who's doing your sales. So who gets the commission? Who's actually working with the patient? Who's actually doing the upselling? Who's your best salesperson? You need to know who the best salespeople are in your office. Even though Sally might look great, but Sally might be doing a bad job at sales and closing, and you need to know that by looking at these reports. So technology definitely helps you to build customer loyalty and upsell opportunities. So once a lead turned into a consult, patient now takes over, and it becomes a digital foundation for your practice. So doctors are saying all over, I've been to all the recent trade shows, that the leading edge technology actually helps them retain their patients because the patients see that you're at the cutting edge of everything and they are impressed and they like that. So to me, an iPad is much more impressive than looking at somebody go through all these paper charts. Wouldn't you agree? Improving the patient experience is what we want to do. That is our goal. And when they see the iPad versus the paper charts, well, they're impressed. Also, for you, it's tracking your sales. And you clearly see who those top salespeople are. But seeing a revenue report by referral source is very valuable. And most practice managers and accountants should be sitting down with you and looking at those revenue reports on a regular basis. So my patient retention rate for Botox has climbed from 50 to 70 or 80%. That's a huge number when you go to look at your bottom line at the end of the month. Retaining and rebooking your patients, now that you have them, you want to keep them. We want to keep them happy. We want to keep them coming back. That's a reason we have estheticians where they can get facials and peels on a monthly basis, where they come back every 3 or 4 months for their filler and or injectables and Botox and Dysport. One of the ways we actually see what's going on and how people feel is by surveys. We survey the customers, and by creating these custom surveys that we send out, we're actually able to see what it is their experience was like, what they'd like to change, how they see things. Then it's also important to create a customized survey, which is really interesting, the results we have seen, on what the staff thinks the patients are saying. Because sometimes there's something there that doesn't work out. So you really have to think of that. And you can contact us at Beautiful Forever, and we offer the custom surveys, and we can help you with that. Retaining and rebooking your patients. So we're happy to retain them. Now we want to rebook them, and we want them to come back in. Maybe create a VIP program. Bundle and package your programs. Refer a friend promotion and rewards is great. And when you have a system like this that actually will help to give you points and actually make things very easy, then creating these programs and promotions make it very simple. So how well are your programs managed? Do you have a refer a friend program? Do you have a special VIP program? Well, if you don't, you really need to look into having one. And Patient Now is a source that actually has the award points I was mentioning based on purchases. And a patient who refers somebody, we could turn that into a gift card for them. And who wouldn't love to get a gift so they can come in to your practice and spend more money, or a gift card from American Express and go out shopping? So stay ahead of the competition, and that's often a question we're asked. How do we stay ahead? There's so much more competition. We have all the non-core physicians now doing the same things we're doing. What do we do? How do we make our practice unique? Well, the first thing, basically, is to create a niche in the marketplace. That I could tell you from a marketing and PR standpoint. But you have to keep your patients well informed, and you have to have very good marketing and PR. And you have to have direct communication with your patients. Somebody has to be in charge of the social media. So you really need to go in and look at the social media, see how often things are being posted, what's being posted, who's writing about it, how many friends on Facebook are following you and are active. And obviously there's other social media sources that you need to be involved with. So you want to seek out all the information about your competition, and you want to stay in front of them. So doing a competitive survey of pricing and menu and equipment is what I suggest for most practices do on an annual basis. It is time-consuming, but it is something we often do for our clients on a regular basis. But choosing the right staff is important. Those that want to be educated, those that want to learn, those that are eager, that's what you want. Somebody who's going to be there for the life of the practice, because what we're finding is some offices we're going in, and unfortunately they're hiring college students at a very low rate, but they're also leaving at a very fast rate. So you need to think about who you're hiring and how much you're paying them and how much they're worth for your practice. So I thank you very much for being with us today. I look forward to hearing from you, and have a successful year. Thank you.
Contact us today at beautifulforever.com or call 877-SPA-MEDI for an initial complimentary evaluation of your practice needs. Realize greater profits at a $300 savings.